dollar because patriots. All people who love them country bad, bad love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. Them country bad, bad love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. This a we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. Follow me now. This a we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. This a me. My name is Ufa. Belize me come from the Billy City area. 110% Belize and proud of it. No, tell me about maritime area. Long time ago agreement by the slave master. Talking about the head on the Belize and dollar because patriots. All people who love them country bad, bad love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. Them country bad, bad love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. This a we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. Follow me now. This a we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. This a me. My name is Ufa. Belize me come from the Billy City area. 110% Belize and proud of it. No, tell me about maritime area. Long time ago agreement by the slave master. Talking about the head on the Belize and dollar because patriots. All people who love them country bad, bad love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. Them country bad, bad love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. This a we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. Follow me now. This a we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. This a me. My name is Ufa. Belize me come from the Billy City area. 110% Belize and proud of it. No, tell me about maritime area. Long time ago agreement by the slave master. Talking about the head on the Belize and dollar because no Guatemala. Follow me now. This a we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. This a me. My name is Ufa. Belize me come from the Billy City area. 110% Belize and proud of it. No, tell me about maritime area. Long time ago agreement by the slave master. Talking about the head on the Belize and dollar because patriots. All people who love them country bad, bad love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. Them country bad, bad love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. This a we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. Follow me now. This a we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. This a me. My name is Ufa. Belize me come from the Billy City area. 110% Belize and proud of it. No, tell me about maritime area. Long time ago agreement by the slave master. Talking about the head on the Belize and dollar because patriots. All people who love them country bad, bad love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. Them country bad, bad love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. This a we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. Follow me now. This a we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. This a me. My name is Ufa. Belize me come from the Billy City area. 110% Belize and proud of it. No, tell me about maritime area. Long time ago agreement by the slave master. Talking about the head on the Belize and dollar because patriots. All people who love them country bad, bad love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. Them country bad, bad love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. This a we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. Follow me now. This a we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. This a me. My name is Ufa. Belize me come from the Billy City area. 110% Belize and proud of it. No, tell me about maritime area. Long time ago agreement by the slave master. Talking about the head on the Belize and dollar because no Guatemala. Follow me now. This a we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. This a me. My name is Ufa. Belize me come from the Billy City area. 110% Belize and proud of it. No, tell me about maritime area. Long time ago agreement by the slave master. Talking about the head on the Belize and dollar because patriots. All people who love them country bad, bad love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. Them country bad, bad love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. This a we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. Follow me now. This a we with a fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. This a me. My name is Ufa. Belize me come from the Billy City area. 110% Belize and proud of it. No, tell me about maritime area. Long time ago agreement by the slave master. Talking about the head on the Belize and dollar because patriots. All people who love them country bad, bad love them homeland. Will never give it up to.
And welcome to Sunday Review. This here in my face, I can't so no. Yes, it's Sunday. Make a calm down. Gonna know I don't hype already. It's Sunday, March 23rd, 2025, and welcome to Sunday Review, Belize's only news review talk show where we make sense of the news as our tag. I am the executive producer and host, Sister YaYa Marin Coleman, and our co-host is Brother Mutota from the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Good morning, Brother Ako.
Morning, Sister YaYa. Good morning, Comrade Danuta from Guyana, and good morning to our listening audience.
Give thanks as Brother Ako share our guest this morning. Well, I don't know. They say that March that Women's Month, but 24/7, 365 that Women's Month, as far as I'm concerned. So, Brother Ako is really focused on IT this year. So now check out this Saturday, I think 11 to 1 on XTV, XTV Belize Facebook page, XTV Belize YouTube. We're having our Caribbean Dialogue, fifth solidarity reasoning with IT. So on a link in. Danuta Radzik, is that how you pronounce your last name, Danuta?
Yeah, yes.
Is from Guyana. And she has been working with a group in Guyana in solidarity with our sisters and brothers, the IT. So she's our guest today. Good morning, and how are you being, Danuta?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, YaYa, and good morning, Ako. And thank you very much for having me and giving myself, but also, Haiti Support Group of Guyana, of which I'm part of, the opportunity to talk about some of the work that we have done in relation to Haiti. So thanks for having me on the program.
Thank you. No problem. Look forward to the reasoning. One of our guests late, Sunity Maharaj. She's a career journalist until maybe a couple weeks ago, a former senator in Trinidad and Tobago. But yeah, January, anytime now. But till then, I don't know how it go. But I can't star, no. No, he star all the time. But it's for his time. It's the Caribbean Report. Stories that made headlines, or if it never make headlines, Brother Ako become aware and I feel that this is something what we ought to know. Because of Brother Ako vibration really, Sunday Review, they focus on the Caribbean primarily for 2025. So come in with the Caribbean Report, Brother Ako.
So, good morning again to our sister Danuta, Comrade Sister Danuta, and also to the listening audience. So this morning we have about 4 pieces of news we think important for people of the Caribbean to hear. First one comes out of Guadeloupe and Martinique, and the headline, I'm going to read the headline. The headline is titled, "A Deliberate Poisoning, Our Banned Pesticide Haunts the French Caribbean." Subheading, prostate cancer rates are among the world's highest in Guadeloupe and Martinique, where chlordecone was widely used on plantations for more than 20 years. I'm going to just read a piece, from the report. It says that Tiburcy Cleon was just a teenager when he began working in the vast banana plantations of Guadeloupe. For 5 decades, he toiled long hours in the fields under the Caribbean sun. Then a few months after retiring in 2021, he was given a diagnosis that many of his colleagues had received before him, prostate cancer. Guadeloupe and Martinique, 2 French islands in the Caribbean, have some of the highest rates of prostate cancer in the world. One of the culprits is exposure to an extremely toxic and persistent pesticide called chlordecone. The fine white powder was widely used at banana plantations on the islands from 1972 to 1993 to combat the banana weevil, a pest that ravages crops. For decades, workers and activists in the French Caribbean have fought for recognition of chlordecone's devastating health and environmental impacts. Progress has been slow, but on March 11th, a French court ordered the state to compensate 11 victims. In a region where an estimated 90% of the population has traces of chlordecone in their blood, the decision is a small step in a long fight for justice. Throughout his life, Cleon worked with chlordecone routinely. he would use his bare hands to scatter the powder at the base of banana trees without gloves or mask. When it was time for lunch, he and his colleagues would bring food to their mouths with powdered hands. At night, the workers would return home in chloroquine-covered clothes, washing them alongside their family's laundry. While I was working, I remember feeling small aches or being lightheaded. But it's when I retired that it got worse, Cleon says. I went to the hospital and the doctor told me that it was prostate cancer. Emotions run very deep among the workers of Martinique and Guadeloupe whenever the topic of chloroquine arises. There is a significant anger towards those in power, the government, pesticide producers, and the banana industry. And this is a very important case here in Guadeloupe, and I think it has impact for all of the Caribbean because we use a lot of pesticides in the Caribbean now in agriculture. And this is a case, as you can see, where growing bananas for France is costing the people of Martinique and Guadeloupe severely relative to their health. So 90% of the population of these two territories are impacted by this pesticide called chloroquine and has given them one of the highest rates of cancer in Earth. So this is one of the reports from the Caribbean relative to health. The other report is a case in the British Virgin Islands. Out of Totola, the Ministry of Health has reported there are 66 cases of hand, foot, and mouth disease. The Ministry of Health and Social Development has announced that the numbers of hand, foot, and mouth disease in the British Virgin Islands has risen to 66 and is encouraging the community to take proactive measures to stop its spread. Acting Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Ronald Georges, confirmed that there's a rise in confirmed cases of disease that is primarily affecting children across early childhood learning centers and pre-primary schools. To mitigate the spread, the Public Health Unit has implemented several key interventions. Parents and caregivers are reminded that the disease is highly contagious. It's a viral illness spread through direct contact and with an infected person's saliva, respiratory droplets, blister fluids, or stool. These things can cause infections. It can also be spread by touching contaminated surfaces or subjects such as toys, doorknobs, and shared utensils. Symptoms typically include fever, sore throat, painful ulcers in the mouth, skin rash on the hands, feet, or buttock, decreased appetite, irritability, and a general feeling of discomfort and fatigue. Parents and caregivers are urged to be vigilant and take necessary precautions to prevent the spread by adhering to the guidance offered by the public health. So this is another issue, again, a health issue in the Caribbean that is important that we pay attention to, okay? This is news out of Trinidad now. Trinidad and Tobago has a new Prime Minister, Mr. Stuart Young. Mr. Young assumed the Prime Minister's position with some controversy after Dr. Keith Rowley, the incumbent, stepped down as PM. New Prime Minister Young subsequently called a general election scheduled for April 28th, which is a few weeks away. So that is news out of Trinidad, right? And relative to what we are speaking about today, Haiti, the IOM, the International Organization for Migration, said on Monday, in a report on Monday, that intense violence has forced nearly 60,000 people in Haiti to be displaced. And this is because of the ongoing violence that is in Haiti. Crowded corridors replace classrooms as schools are now displacement sites in Haiti's capital for people displaced by gang violence and the instability that has gripped the capital, Port-au-Prince. The last 2 months, the security situation has sharply deteriorated even further in the capital, with escalating attacks on civilians, eroding the few remaining gang-free areas, and forcing repeated and record displacements of people. According to the IOM, most of the displaced have sought refuge in 48 placement centers. So this is a report on Haiti and the continuing violence and its impact on Haiti. And this has happened in the last few days or so, in which 60,000 people have been displaced in Haiti. So that is the items on the news for the Caribbean for this Sunday.
You're a Caribbean correspondent. And I really have one great value for the stories we select. As a news review talk show, we would not have covered most of the stories where you bring onto this space, brother. A big thanks. Danuta,
Yeah.
tell me why I know by yourself. First off, you look like what we say, you look like a local white person. I don't know how you identify, but tell me who your people are, how you end up in Guyana.
Okay, well, I'm Guyanese. I'm born in Guyana. I have lived all my life in Guyana. I mean, I've traveled a bit, but I have basically lived all of these years in my country, Guyana. In terms of my heritage, all right, so I am mixed, right? I'm a mixed person. And maybe one of the reasons I kind of look, I mean, we call them red people, huh? I don't know what you call them in Belize, but people who are fair skinned then, right? So, right. But you know, my mother is Guyanese. My father, he he's Polish. He came from Poland. And he had to flee Poland, you know, when the Nazis and actually Russia invaded Poland. And so, you know, he made his way across as a very young, he was 17 years old, across Europe and finally got to England where he joined the Royal Air Force and then, you know, had some education, went to university. And then there was a job advertised for a chemist in Guyana. And so he came to Guyana and he met my mother and he never left. And in fact, he was a displaced person. So he never had like any kind of citizenship. He didn't have that. And the only citizenship he actually got was Guyanese citizenship after applying for that. Um, yeah, so that is a bit about my father and my name. That's it. It reflects that Polish heritage. Um, yeah. And you know, I mean, Guyana is, I think, like kind of like Belize, so it's a multiracial population, you know. The two, maybe people know this already, but the two major groups are um people who came as, of course, through enslavement um and indentureship. So my grandmother, right, would have come to Guyana with her mother, who came as an indentured servant, that's what they call them, to work on the plantations in Guyana. Um, yeah, so that's a bit about, yeah, and so, right, so the main populations are East Indians, Africans, indigenous, um, mixed, and then there's small populations of like Chinese and Portuguese and I think also white. We say the six, Ghana is supposed to have 6 different ethnic groups. So that is, so it is multiracial society and quite a large number of mixed people there.
So your maternal grandmother would have been Indian.
Yes, on one side.
Right. I very clear. I call them people Indian because they not got no West Indian. They just like how we come from the continent of Africa, for we ancestors and ancestors come from there. Definitely Indian people. My maternal grandmother, if I'm not mistaken, full Indian. There's a portion of Belize town, Southside Belize City. Now, we notice an derogatory term, I just to say within historical context, was called Coolie Town.
Yeah.
This would have been in, I think, 1880, the 1880s, I think, in Belize City. So indeed, we don't want mixed set of people. But I tell people when I walk and move and be other African, we are human beings, but based on how we present, that the kind of privilege or oppression we go through as women. Brother Ako, how you meet that sister Danuta?
I've known of Danuta for a very long time without meeting her. In Caribbean progressive politics, right? So all of us are children of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So you would have heard of people like, the sister who wrote the book, Andaye. Okay.
Yes.
So once I came to Guyana at least twice, and I met with Andaye once. And but when you followed Guyana's politics, left politics, you always heard the name of Danuta or the Radzik sister. I think you have a sister, right?
Yes.
And they were always in progressive politics in Guyana. So that's how I heard. Before I met her, I knew of her. And then I was looking to do something in Guyana, and Brother Yusuf Kwana said, you need to talk to Danuta Radzik in order to have her on this program. But I think at the time she couldn't come on or something, and I had to go with somebody else. So I would say for about 30 something years, the Radzik name, Danuta's name, have been in my consciousness without ever meeting her. So that's how I came to know of Danuta.
Have you met her in person?
Never. Today, yeah, never. We meet on Zoom. We see each other on Zoom. But I'm hoping to correct that when I'm in Ghana in a couple of weeks' time.
Okay, good.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Danuta, what has been your experience in the 30 years you've been in Guyana organizing people?
Okay, so as Ako has said, is that okay, so I was part of the Working People's Alliance, right, which was a party very associated with Walter Rodney. And so, I have that background, being a political activist, traveling all over Guyana, actually, doing political work, etc. And, of course, the Working People's Alliance, the WP, at that time, what we were trying to do is to unite the working people of Guyana, because we were experiencing a dictatorship at that time in Guyana. So, so, as Guyanese, older Guyanese, you've been through a lot of experiences in terms of politics in Guyana, some of it not good at all. And unfortunately, like Trinidad, we also have racial politics that continues to this day in Guyana. And that was why being in the WPA and trying to get the working people together, it meant that, you had a better chance really of transforming your society, right? Instead of fighting up with each other, while, imperialism and colonialism and, all those negative things, really are the ones that are influencing your countries in a very negative way, so so I have that background in that. I'm no longer part in the party as such. And even, while we were in the political party, there were many women, and we were very strong people and leaders, as women are. And but we recognize that in the context of a political party, we could not really work and mobilize women and, you know, help them to change their situations, be it economic, you know, or other. And so we formed a NGO called Red Thread, and that still exists today. It does great work. We did a lot of very, very good work in Red Thread. I'm also no longer associated with that. It is now, you know, um, it's run, and it's a grassroots women's organization, grassroots. And then, you know, partly through that work, I got very involved in women's issues, and I worked for many years with another organization called Help and Shelter, and that focus was on prevention, protection, and response from gender-based violence. So I did a lot of work. We offered services. We did a lot of education work, also in communities, in schools, um, with police and teachers and um, health workers, etc. And then, of course, well, Haiti Support Group, I mean, that was started about 14 years ago. So it's, you know, I've been part of that for a very long time. And that coincided with all parts of my life. And yeah, and then I also more recently got very involved in environmental issues because where I live, right next door to me, is a very large onshore operation for oil and gas. And so what they have is that they have a storage and calibration center, right? Which stores sealed radioactive sources. And yeah, when you hear about radioactive sources, you have to you know, be concerned, etc. And we actually took out a case. We filed a case against them, which we won, but they just reapplied for another environmental permit, and they received that. And then the other thing that happens there happens right next door to us, you know, is there are two companies that actually deal with waste management. So all the very toxic, hazardous, and um, can be radioactive waste comes on shore to Guyana to be treated. And we don't know, population doesn't know, and all the people who live around here, because this thing is in a community and they're adjoining communities and everything. Uh, we don't know after they treat it and so on, if it's treated to international standards, how is it then, and, you know, and where does that, you know, that treated waste goes. I mean, some goes into the Demerara River, which is right next door to us, and so on. So the oil and gas industry in Guyana has brought, it's really transforming our country, actually. But this is not a conversation about that. Yes.
Thanks. That gave me on good vibes, the work you've been doing over the decades. Red Thread is one of Yubat Educational Foundation Solidarity Organization. We've had Sister Wintress and Suzanne on Sunday Review. I've met Sister Alisa a couple times. And so, yeah, definitely grassroots, working class people driven initiative. I was gifted the book that Alisa edited, Sister Andai notes or documents. One of my flagship books when it comes to organizing as a Black woman in the Caribbean. Well, I done 3 minutes to 11 now. Your other guest not show up yet, Brother Akko.
Well, she just sent me a text saying she's having problems getting on.
So there, anyways.
Yeah.
Brother Akko, I'll ask you this because I know we had this stacking and I listened to Danuta just now. What has been your experience organizing people in the Caribbean?
Well, the organizing people in the Caribbean, you have to put it in phases. So at the time that Danuta was talking about with the WPA, the environment was different for organizing people. Same thing we in Trinidad National Joint Action Committee. It has always been a challenge to organize people in the Caribbean because the forces of reaction and the imperialist forces do not want Caribbean people organized. But there was sufficient enough of what we may call a critical mass who were committed to alternative ideas. And so we had organizations throughout the Caribbean, especially in the post 1970 into the late 80s. I think a critical turning point was the collapse of the Grenada Revolution. After the Grenada Revolution collapsed, it traumatized a lot of people in the Caribbean, cadres and the masses themselves. And then you could also imagine the kind of propaganda that was, pushed in the Caribbean. So it made organizing difficult. In fact, there's a book Brother UC Guyana wrote on Jonestown. It's a very interesting book to understand how those negative events impact, organizing the Caribbean. And one of the points he made in that book is he said the people who went to Jonestown had good intentions. They wanted to make a better world and a better life for themselves. But the tragedy that occurred because of the mass suicides and so on, he said the reactionary forces used that to poison the environment for progressive ideas and progressive thoughts in the Caribbean. And that is what happens. So at the moment, I would say especially the last 10 years, it has been very challenging to mobilize and organize people in the Caribbean. I started an organization. When I returned home after living abroad for a while, I wanted to do something. And I knew that the methods and the approaches that I had in the 1970s, 80s, into the 90s when I was actively involved in organization could not work. The cultural environment had changed, the social environment had changed. You had more money in the country and so on and so forth. And one of the things I felt, and like Danuta, like Guyana, what Danuta said, Trinidad has a majority Indian African population. And the politics is always based around division. So we struggled with that in NJAC to mobilize Indians, right? Because we were branded an African organization, even though we were not an African organization, but we were branded that. And then when we changed our names, the visible manifestation of that and when African clothes. So while we did have Indian members, a lot of Indians were alienated because the traditional organizations felt we threatened their power base. So they poisoned the environment. But when I returned, I started to look at what is the best way to mobilize. And what I found was a method, at least for my community, was heritage. So I founded a heritage organization together with some other people. And we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the town that we are from. And that led to other things like researching the history. And we, about 2 or 3 years ago, we put on several historical markers. But one of the most significant ones was the ones we did for the 1937 massacre that occurred when the workers revolted against British colonialism. And that group, I will tell you this, the group is not functional at the moment for the last year, but for 9 years, every month we had meetings and activities. And that the majority of the people in that group were Indians. I was the founder and founding chairman and the chairman of the group. So, but you had Africa, but we worked closely together because heritage was a binding thing for both ethnic groups. So I still think there is potential to organize people. We have to find the right issue, the right idea to get buy-in from the people in the Caribbean. But it is a challenge. I'm not saying it's not, but I think there are ways we can mobilize people around issues that I think are relevant and they have interest in.
Thanks, Brother Akko. We have to go to our first break, but that one feed right into the second break because we're here to talk about IT and our sisters and brothers in IT. And since we're focused on the Caribbean, we need more of our people live in the Caribbean to be able to pick sense out of nonsense, especially if they tend to watch colonial corporate US news, and that are the only source of knowledge. That you have to be careful because they're not everything we see on TV really they happen on the ground. So this is the opportunity for learn more about IT from one Trinidad and Tobago lens, from one Guyanese lens. And this Saturday, 11, I think to 1, which one be 1 to 3, I think, Trinidad and Guyanese time. We have the 5th Caribbean in Solidarity with IT Caribbean Dialogue Conversation. It'll be live streamed on XTV Belize Facebook, XTV Belize YouTube, and local XTV channel. Today's program, how I forget, is being simulcasted on our sister station, Crumb Radio. So stay tuned. We'll take a quick break and come back and all things with Haiti.
Welcome to Atlantic Online. In this step
love them homeland. We'll never give it up to another nation. Them country bad love them homeland. We'll never give it up to another nation. This time we we that feel. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. Follow me now. This time we that feel. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. This time me name is Pupa. Belize me come from the Belize City area. 110% Belize and proud of it. No, tell me what maritime area. Long time ago.
Already. Sunity may be joining us shortly, but we're having this conversation about Haiti. Brother Akko, why you feel this conversation is important today, especially that March of Women's Month, and you made recommendation for some of these sisters. Why you feel it's important right now, Brother Akko?
Well, I think it's important to keep Haiti in the news. The situation in Haiti is continuously deteriorating, and it is not given enough airplay. It is not in the news as it should be. What is happening in the mainstream media is that the situation in Ukraine occupies all the space, even in the Caribbean. People are on YouTube all the time just looking at issues related to Ukraine and also Gaza. And the situation in Haiti has been ongoing for a very long time. The people have been struggling there, and every time they make 2 or 3 steps forward, the forces of reaction return to send them 10 steps backward. And in the Caribbean, we have a tendency not to be familiar, deliberately so because of how the news is organized. We have a tendency not to know what is happening in the Caribbean. We know more of what is happening in Miami, London, and Europe than what happens in Belize. It is so absurd that a couple months ago, I read a piece where there was a mole of some type, I think on the Prince Harry or one of these British princes, and that made the news. And things are happening in Jamaica that is important to us, or in Guyana that is important to us, and we are not hearing it. Likewise, what is happening in Guyana, there's a guy there, Coleman his name now, but we had him on a webinar, who spoke about the potential catastrophe that if an oil spill took place in Guyana, what could happen to the rest of the Caribbean? That we don't know about. So similarly, the situation in Haiti warrants attention. This is right next door. Haiti is part of the Caribbean family. And so I felt it was absolutely, together with some other colleagues, absolutely necessary to continuously keep Haiti in the news, in focus, and being discussed so that people understand what is happening there.
Thanks, Brother Akko. Danuta. Oh, I asked if there's any Facebook, because I'm not on Facebook, if there are any Facebook messages, because it's an engaging conversation, and I want people to be so. My good sister Sonia Allen says she loves my hair. That's my sister, you know. Jose Sandoval said good morning. Bill Guerrero said Buitu Banafi. All right, good. Thanks, Alexei. Danuta, you're I don't know if you're a founding member of IT support group of Guyana. I know a good sister, Charlene, that chief cook and bottle washer. Tell us some more about this group, how it was formed, and some of the actions. And I tell you, Sister Charlene, I eat up on bed rest right now. But that woman, I feel like I give a rib when it comes to the IT cars. Like, she that next level. Like, she got people living in a house. Like, she not talk it, she live it in solidarity with people from IT. So tell me more, Danuta.
Yeah, so okay, yes, I've been involved with the Haiti support group from the start, right? Like Charlene. Before I go into talking about what we do though, I like to backtrack a bit because you know, March 8th was International Women's Day. So on behalf of myself and the Haiti support group, we would like to specially honor and celebrate the women of Haiti for their courage and their resilience and their warrior spirit. and endurance in the face of, murders, killings, rampant sexual violence, homelessness, food insecurity, loss of livelihoods, etc. And we also, mourn with them the loss of their children and family members and stand in solidarity with Haitian migrants, Haitian refugees, and Haitian asylum seekers who are in the Caribbean or, in the diaspora, and they're facing racial discrimination, um, forced deportation, and other human rights abuses. So I just, want to mention that because, you know, yes, and as women, we know that we are the ones very often who look after the family, the health of the family, the education of the family, all the work in the house and so on that we do. So women and children tend to be some of the worst affected, by situations that are happening in Haiti. And in the news there was that story of, her name was, I think, Eliana, and she was a survivor of a massacre. And she witnessed her baby being thrown into the fire. And what happened is she lost the will to live, and she herself died. Right, so very, very tragic. The baby was only 2 months old. And of course, all the violence in Haiti, we have to recognize it's being done by the Viv and San. They are death squads, paramilitary death squad gangs. And but they're also linked to people who would never want Haiti to be free, sovereign, and so on. So I just wanted to say that. And coming back now to Haiti Support Group, we're about...
One sec, Danuta. Can you tilt your camera down a little bit? Because now we don't have enough. A little bit up more, a little bit up. The opposite way. There you go. I think that's good. Yeah. Thanks. I really appreciate you taking the time to center Haitian sisters and being very specific about the horrors they're living through. Because listening to mainstream media, now when you listen to what happened in Europe, when you listen to what happened in Gaza, over and over again, you hear about the women and the children and the elders. But when it comes to Haiti, you don't hear about the humanity of the people from that territory, which is a Caribbean country. So I really value taking the time to center them in this conversation and to say specifically the atrocities that they're living with. And with that sister in particular, as a woman, as a mother, there are no words. So I really have to give you thanks for centering that conversation. Go ahead.
Right. And that is so, and yeah, it's so unbelievable that this is happening, in Haiti, and the thing about Haiti is that Haiti is a full member of CARICOM. These are our people, and what I, is CARICOM really focused on Haiti in a positive way? I'm not sure about that. But the Haiti Support Group, we kind of formed around the same time of that very devastating 2010 Haiti earthquake. And one of the first activities we did is, we organized a telethon to raise funds. And, and with the telethon, we were able to share information about Haiti, et cetera, and we raised 10,000 US dollars, which we sent to the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund in Haiti. It was grassroots, and they were you know, very involved with women and helping women in that terrible, terrible disaster. So that was kind of, I think, one of our first activities. And some of the other things that we have done is, you know, okay, so we do quite a bit of advocacy on Haiti, what is happening there. So we would write letters, you know, write statements, have them in the press, etc. And we were involved in 2 different sets of petitions, both of which, because were addressed to CARICOM Secretariat, which is in Guyana, and because we were located in Guyana on both those occasions, the petitions, even though they were Caribbean-wide, you know, and also included the Caribbean diaspora and even other people outside of that, in Europe and, you know, North America, etc., etc. We presented those petitions to the CARICOM headquarters, to the Secretary General, and in the other case, Secretary General was not there, so we were hosted by the Deputy Secretary General. So we've done that kind of work, and then in Guyana between 2017 to 2021, there were a number of incidents that affected Haitians in Guyana who had come to Guyana, were legally in Guyana, came through the airports, in most cases, but I could talk about the others that didn't. And then would have gone to, you know, where they were going to stay, and then found themselves arrested, detained, etc. So Haiti Support, we were very active in, you know, bringing this to the attention of the public. And we organized, you know, legal representation and help for those groups of Haitians, because there were fairly large numbers. And in one of the cases, that was 2020, by 2021, the case actually came up. That case actually came up in the courts of Guyana, and the Chief Justice ruled that the government had absolutely no right to do what they had done, and they violated the rights of Haitian people, right? Those Haitian people. So we were very pleased with that. And then some of the other work that we have done is we've done a lot of direct help to Haitians living in Guyana, be it with immigration issues, be it with, you know, like issues like needing like direct support, etc., helping with any medical emergencies, and things like that. And we're also in contact with the Haitian Society, which is made up of Haitians in Guyana. And I think most Caribbean countries actually have that kind of association. And so for the past 2 years, for Haiti's independence, which of course is 1st of January, we help with raising funds to organize like hampers for all the families of Haitians living in Guyana. So yeah, so those are some of the things we have done, but we've also approached the international organizations. So and made submissions to them on the situation that was affecting Haitians living in Guyana, you know. So we have done that, and we've done one of them we did in partnership with Freedom Imaginaries, and there would have been a number of Haitian groups that were part of that submission to the IACHR. And we also did submissions to ICCPR and another one to IACHR. That's the more recent one in Guyana. But we focused on part of the submission because there were other areas, of course, but part of the submission was the issue that was affecting Haitians in Guyana, including that, Guyana is one of 5 countries in the Caribbean who have not signed on to any of the refugee conventions. And why that is important is that if you have signed on and you have migrants, refugees, or asylum seekers, and these would be like Haitians, and they are, in the Caribbean, fleeing all the violence and so on in Haiti, that they are guaranteed certain rights. And another issue that has come up, and this is in relation to Guyana, and I think, I'm not sure, no, I don't know if Trinidad has it, but as we know, Guyana, right, is right next door to Venezuela. Venezuela claims 2/3 of Guyana, and that is a historical issue. But, when the situation in Venezuela deteriorated, a lot of Venezuelans came over to Guyana. So we hear that it's probably over 30,000 Venezuelans are actually living in Guyana, and more keep coming in as, depending on the situation in Venezuela. But it is the response. So we know what is happening in Haiti. And in fact, the situation in Haiti is even worse than the situation in Venezuela. Yet the UNCHR, right, which is like the refugee kind of UN body, they came up with a guidance note. This is the name of it, a guidance note on the outflow of Venezuelans to countries, in South America and so on. And what that guidance note says is that Venezuelan migrants can enter the country, and they are supposed to be guaranteed certain rights, including, the right to education, the right to health care. Well, they do get that in Guyana. I mean, all migrants or people living in Guyana can access school and health care. But there were also a lot of other rights that there should be no separation of family. So if there were Venezuelans who came to Guyana and they had other relatives living in Venezuela, that the country should respect and allow those family members to also be able to come into Guyana so the family could stay together, right? And a number of, other rights, etc. Yet, here we have Haiti, and we have no guidance note on the outflow of Haitians, migrants, refugees who maybe would want to come to the Caribbean. So there was a clear discrimination, and we have raised this over and over in Ghana. I mean, once I heard about it, and I know about this issue because, I worked with the NGO, and not only was there this guidance note, but there was also a platform set up to help Venezuelan migrants, with services and so on. And NGOs could get funding to do this in Guyana. And when we would raise, well, what about Haitians? They are here too, and there are no programs. And, the UN agencies and so on would say, yes, that is true, etc. But the situation has never changed. And I mean, you can see the clear distinction between those things. So, I mean, you know, so yeah, so we have raised this and we have asked when we did those petitions, and in some of those petitions, and one of them at least, we asked, you know, why could there not be a similar kind of support for Haitians, right? Because when you look at it, Venezuelans are not part of CARICOM. You know, their history and their culture and so on is not Caribbean. Haitians are our people, you know, and yet the Caribbean response to Haitians, you know, really is not good enough, you know, and so for Guyana, you know, when I said like from 2017 to 2021, so those Haitian groups, those Haitian who came to Guyana and then were subsequently arrested and detained, they all came with visas. Um, and under another administration of Guyana, you know, visas were given to Haitians, you know, as they entered Guyana. But in 2020, when there was a change of government, that was stopped. And Haitians now have to apply, if they want to come to Guyana, they have to apply for a visa online from Haiti. And it is extremely difficult to do that and so much easier to deny them. So now, so that through the government of Guyana insisting on Haitians having visas, needing visas to come to Guyana, even though they are CARICOM, full CARICOM citizens, and under the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, we should all be moving freely in the Caribbean once you are a Caribbean national. But that was imposed and so on again. And that remains a thing. And with that, it is one of the problems that is affecting Haitians is that it has been very difficult for them to get family members to come and even visit, or to come into Guyana, which is, as I said before, under the guidance note, we know is a violation of family reunification if you are a refugee or you are asylum seeker. You know, so that is like some of the problems. You know, there's no agency in Guyana that is set up really to help Haitians that you know, and that 6-month automatic stay, which is for all other Caribbean people except Haitians, now has been removed from Ghana, making it more difficult. And where you know, and even when members of the Haiti support group have sponsored, have written to sponsor Haitians coming into Guyana, saying, okay, we're going to be, you know, responsible for them. We will ensure they have somewhere to stay, that they will not be so-called a burden on this society, on the country, and so on. In many cases, those have been denied by the immigration authorities. And right, and then, you know, there's some language problems. You know, Haitians, a lot of them, of course, they speak Creole, and maybe some of them speak French. Guyana, we don't know any of those languages. And, you know, as English speakers, we always feel we don't have to learn nobody else's language except ours. And with our Creole, it's sometimes a bit more difficult for them to really understand. And every year, Haitians have to pay $20,000 to have an extension of their visas.
About how much is that in US dollars?
20,000 is that's 100 US. They have to pay that.
My MCO said to ask you to sit you were doing good, but when you come forward, we can't see the whole. But then I don't want to mess up the flow of the conversation. So
Oh, okay, I understand. I won't come forward.
All right, because they give one wealth of information. In July 2023, Belize also required Haitians to have a visa, which is a human rights violation. I know I have to go to a break, but you bring a lot to the table just now, which is why, again, like Brother Akko said, these conversations are needed with people across the Caribbean. But when we come back from break, I'll give Brother Akko the mic, because we have to talk about the failure of CARICOM leadership, not only with Haitian people.
Yeah.
One list, but the Akko and get the mic and come back on. Stay tuned. We have Danuta Radzik from Guyana, Banagro. If we start the show earlier, then I hear why she looks how she looks and fight how she fight for the decades away where you know the struggle because of her political awareness. And no doubt because of what he born into, because her father was a displaced person. So by birthright, I could say how that would have influenced your life as well in the defense of other people, like Brother Akko saying in that first segment. That's 6,000, Brother Akko?
60.
60,000 Haitians displaced. 60,000. Within what time frame did they say, Brother Akko?
Like within a month.
Can you imagine?
Less than a month, yeah.
That's almost, man. Anyways.
60,000, yeah.
Stay tuned. We're going to break and we'll come back for the last segment.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you've been waiting for.
10% Belize and proud of it, sir. Don't tell me about maritime area. Long time ago, agreement by the slave master. Talking about the head and the Belize and dollar because patriots. All people who love them country bad, love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. Them country bad, love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. This is the we we the fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. Follow me now. This is the we the fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. This is me. My name is Pupa. Belize me come from the Belize City area. 110% Belize and proud of it, sir. Don't tell me about maritime area. Long time ago, agreement by the slave master. Talking about the head and the Belize and dollar because patriots. All people who love them country bad, love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. Them country bad, love them homeland. Will never give it up to another nation. This is we the fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. Follow me now. This is we the fear. Nobody give it to no Guatemala. This is me. My name is Pupa. Belize me come from the Belize City area. 100.
Sunday review. Ha! Sunday review. So we have Brother Ako Mutota as the co-host, and we have Danuta Radzik from Guyana, and she represents the Haiti support group of Guyana. I want to hear all the work with people that do that Guyana in solidarity with the country of Haiti and our sisters and brothers straight from the continent of Africa. First republic, first country in the Caribbean for get the independence through resisting blood, sweat, and tears. And the injustice by political leaders who are elected to look after the business of people in the Caribbean, but they got business, they look after people, like even the UN. Well, when it comes to the Security Council and the decisions what they make, Brother Ako, we are going to say about the Caribbean when it comes to IT.
Okay, Haiti is not isolated incident in terms of the attitudes of Caribbean leaders. Okay, CLR James made a statement about Trinidad in one of his books, Party Politics in the West Indies, I think it is. And he's speaking about Trinidad. He said that the elites who inherited power from the colonial authorities, rather than develop a national project of unity in Trinidad and Tobago, they chose race politics. They chose to continue the divide and rule policy of the British. So you have politicians in the Caribbean who have no interest in their own country, as Danuta so expertly put it. They will sell out their country to multinational corporations. They talk unity. I remember before CARICOM, there was CARIFTA and free trade area, and then after that was CARICOM, and then they talk about this Caribbean single market economy. None of these things were meant to improve the Caribbean. It's a talk shop for Caribbean leaders and a pretense, it's like we have something in Trinidad we call gambage, right? It's a term we use. And it's a term that is used to pretend you're doing something while you're really not doing anything. You're making a lot of, action, but you don't, a lot of movement, but no concrete action. We call it gambage. You're pretending. And that's how Caribbean leaders are. Before the victimization of the Haitians, they were the victim of Jamaicans all through the Caribbean. They brutalized Jamaicans in Barbados, brutalized them in Trinidad, right? And so this is just a masquerade. And Haiti is just the latest manifestation of this masquerade by Caribbean leaders who pretend through words, they make nice speeches at the UN, and then do nothing else. And this is what we are dealing with. And until the people of the Caribbean come to an understanding that these are how these leaders are, this situation is going to continue. The people of the Caribbean want unity. There is a underground unity of the people in the Caribbean through migration and marriage and so on. But the leaders do not want any kind of political or economic unity because it does not serve the interests of their masters, and they are mere puppets. So that is the reality. in
And
my
let it be
opinion.
known that the majority of the people in Caribbean countries are African descendants racialized as Black people, are the majority population. I don't have the numbers, but Black people are the majority. I when we say the Caribbean, remember I said the Caribbean have a diaspora. So now because another day no more mean you know invested me you know care about your people there. So we have to make one effort to remember the Caribbean diaspora in particular, where they're all over the world, but still hold on to the Caribbean identity. Now, you're the wrong lang, Danuta. You have, seriously, you have any hope of the unification of Caribbean people in any meaningful way?
Well, I'm always hopeful. I mean, I think if I wasn't hopeful, you wouldn't continue to work on the issues and work for betterment and true independence and you know, good lives, good life for Caribbean people, sovereign Caribbean people, who have governments who are really looking after the interests, the real interest of Caribbean people, not just being playgrounds for people from North America, Europe, and I don't know where to come, you know. I mean, you can have that, but at the same time, you can forge a much better and a much stronger togetherness of the Caribbean, where we recognize that historically and culturally we share so much, and we have so much talent and you know everything. I mean, um, we're very smart people. We're very innovative. I mean, our history of overcoming enslavement, indentureship, colonialism, imperialism, even though colonialism kind of coming back as I would say. But at one
It
time,
never gone nowhere, brother Akko.
yeah, I
I don't
mean,
want to
done
disturb her
the,
flow. Let her continue. Yeah.
oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah, I don't want to disturb your flow. Yeah. But go ahead, Danuta. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
want.
so, I'm always hopeful, but I think the- Haiti is, in a sense, the country that has um, fared the worst. I think they have been attacked um, much more than other Caribbean territories, and I think that is based on their history. So, for me, um, we as Caribbean people, we have an obligation to Haiti. We should have an obligation to this country, which was the first free Black republic, who defeated, those armies, all those European armies, etc., was a haven and a support for other people in the Caribbean who were fighting against enslavement and colonialism, well, enslavement really, etc. Um, so yeah, so what about that history? And what about that support and solidarity that Haiti achieved and gave to us? And more recently, I was doing some research, and we did a Haiti quilt, and in doing that, and thinking about okay, how can you present Haiti, not just all the negativity, but all that is exceptional and good in Haiti. And I just kind of saw the Haitian Constitution of 1803, and that is an amazing document, 1803. Guyana, we only had our constitution in 1966, our independence constitution. I mean, it is amazing what Haiti achieved, and we should be so proud of them and offer so much support for people who are really at risk. So I will say that, about that. And I mean, there are a few things I wanted to kind of mention. And one was the situation with Haiti and the Dominican Republic, because that continues to be a real problem. So, in 2013, because of course they shared the same island, the Dominican Republic and Haiti, they share the island. I don't know if it's still called Hispaniola, etc. But in 2013, the Constitutional Court of the Dominican Republic issued a ruling that Dominicans of Haitian descent would lose their citizenship and then would have to, with the possibility, of course, of being deported, etc. And, you know, and this would affect Haitian migrants who were born after 1929. So you're talking about generations of people of Haitian descent who lived, worked, and contributed enormously to DR, all of a sudden, being stripped of their nationality and their rights. So it became a Caribbean-wide thing, etc. And so there was a petition, a Caribbean petition, that was organized, and thousands of people from the Caribbean, the diaspora, and so on, signed that petition. And it was presented to CARICOM. It was a position to CARICOM saying, this cannot stand. This is a terrible violation of people's rights. Plus, the Dominican Republic, the DR, they're much better off and so on than Haiti was even at that time. Anyway, so that petition the Haiti, well, it was a group of about 8 of us who went with that, Charlene being one, I being one, and some other people, some other young people and people from different other groups and so on. But with the international pressure, that ruling was changed. I think in 2014, the UN bodies, objected to this, and because it was, like a outcry, nobody, I mean, it was crazy at the time to do it. That ruling would have affected 210,000 Dominican-born children, women, and men, right? Citizens stripped straight away. But despite when that law was changed in 2014, the passage of a law to change that ruling, 40,000 persons affected by that ruling were informed that they will be denied identity documents in the DR, which made them impossible to access health care or to go to school. That was their children. So there were other ways in which that terrible ruling still affected. And to this day, this is what is amazing. 10 years later, in 2023, as many as 130,000 Dominicans remain stateless and are unable to gain Dominican citizenship. And in, I think, 2023, the Dominican Republic, they said, and this is when, the situation in Haiti is getting worse and worse, that they will be deporting, I think it's 10,000 people of Haitian descent from the DR back to Haiti. And this has happened. And to this day, those deportations are happening from the DR back to Haiti. In many cases, persons would have lost all contact with Haiti. They wouldn't have family. They wouldn't have links. You know, they wouldn't know the country. It's like what's happening now with Trump. They just dump you and you got to fend for yourself. And CARICOM did make some representation on this. The recent thing of that they're deporting persons of Haitian descent back to the Dominican Republic. They did make some representation, and I think it was one of the reasons why they the Dominican Republic, they want to become full members of CARICOM. But I think because of this issue, that was one of the reasons it hasn't been granted. But I think they are still maybe trying to pursue this. And with all of that going on, with all of this going on, the deportation of all of these people from the Dominican Republic right now to a deteriorating situation happening in Haiti, our Guyana government has established very strong diplomatic relations with the Dominican Republic, and they are going to be doing all of these projects in Guyana. Now, what is it, you know, it's really shocking to me that here you are part of CARICOM. You have this problem between a full member of CARICOM and another body who wants to become a member, and they are deporting people into the situation that is happening in Haiti. How could you not object to this strenuously?
So Danuta, let me just intervene here a bit, because a lot of information you are providing, and I am familiar with the situation with the deportation of the Haitians of Dominican origin, or Dominicans of Haitian origin. And when I heard that, I made a decision not to go to the Dominican Republic. I have a personal boycott based on the treatment of Haitians. Not only that, the Dominican Republic has a long history of anti-Blackness, anti-Africanism in the Dominican Republic. Okay? And we are not treating with these things in the Caribbean. This is why I said earlier, the Caribbean leaders are not committed. It's all about talk, right? And we also know that the government of Guyana in itself has some serious questions around its racial policies. Very, very serious questions around its racial policies. While they are pretending to be one way, we know some of the things that has happened that the government has turned a blind eye to. So I'm not surprised that you are hearing this kind of collaboration. Danuta made a point earlier about the treatment of Venezuelans relative to the Haitians in the Caribbean. And she asked about Trinidad and Tobago. We have scores of Venezuelans. Nobody knows how many, but we have thousands of Venezuelans in Trinidad and Tobago. I mean, when the crisis reached its climax a few years ago, everywhere you went, I mean, it's possibly 50, 60,000 Venezuelans were in Trinidad, which is significant. There are still lots of Venezuelans in Trinidad, okay? And we are willing to embrace the Venezuelans, but not, even though there's a language barrier, like Haiti, but we're willing to embrace the Venezuelans, but not embrace the Haitians. And my view is that the Venezuelan situation is triggered by US imperialism. We know this. They are trying to regime change in Venezuela since the days of Hugo Chavez. On the other hand, the same forces that are destabilizing Venezuela, they also destabilize Haiti for a different reason. As Fidel once said, he said the reason the US is treating Haiti that way is that Haiti is a bad example for imperialism. That Haiti fought, got its freedom, and that example they do not want to exist, so they want to extinguish that example like they want to extinguish the example of Cuba. You see? So we have these variables existing in which Venezuelans are treated one way, and Haitians are treated another way. And there is no consistent pattern. And this is what I'm saying with these Caribbean leaders. They talk like I was reading a report. I didn't want to bring it to the Caribbean Review. It's Gaston Brown. Yes, Gaston Brown, I think is the Prime Minister of Antigua. He made a statement, I think last week in one of the reports I read, that he is going to fight for reparations and they're going to insist on reparations. This is the very same person who is in collusion with business and others trying to steal the lands of the people of Barbuda. So they talk. And CARICOM is really a talk show, but CARICOM leaders are puppies of US imperialism and capitalism. And the sooner we understand that, it is better for us in the Caribbean. They have no interest in Caribbean unity. They have no interest in providing for the people of the Caribbean. All they're interested in is going to these fora, UN and whatever, mounting statistics and so on, and have no genuine interest in Caribbean people. This, a couple of weeks ago, I was on an interview in Jamaica, and I made the point which caused the host to laugh. I described what is the lumpen proletariat in Marxist terms, and which is a class, an unproductive class, and involved in petty crime and hustling and so on. And I said the paradox we have in the Caribbean is we have lumpen at the bottom and lumpen at the top. We have a group of leaders who are lumpen proletariats. They are robbers, right? What would make somebody steal Usain Bolt's money? A hero of the world and the Caribbean. They stole millions of dollars. It's not any ordinary person who did that. It is somebody in the upper class of the society who did that. And so we have to stop buying into the rhetoric. I remember telling somebody, and Danuta would know this, when Bonham was in power and Bonham made a speech, you saw Bonham was a revolutionary. He supported all the movements in South Africa, offered money and training. And this was the same man who was brutalizing and killing people in the WPA. That is the pattern of Caribbean leaders, right? Williams in 56, this famous statement, Massa Day done, mean that the day of the Massa is finished. And then he took education and created something called the Concorder and gave education back to the Catholic Church, the same people who were undermining our consciousness. That is the pattern of Caribbean leaders. So I am not surprised at anything they do. We at the ground level, like what Danuta is doing in Guyana with the Haiti organization and Marin in Jamaica, we have to continue that kind of activism to put pressure on those leaders. They are never going to do the right thing if left to themselves, because they are not about doing the right thing.
Respect that. End of the show now, so I have to wrap quickly. Danuta, I got 1 minute for final thoughts. Brother Akko, final thoughts. Make a thank the people and we'll lock off. It's not on, Danuta.
Yes, my final thoughts would be that we have to stand with Haiti. We have to support those progressive forces in Haiti and stay the course until they're able to regain their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and to be free based on the will of Haitian people. Because what is happening is, as Akko has said, there are all these international forces which really have intervened. Oh, I don't think there's any other country in the Caribbean where there have been more interventions of all kinds into Haiti, and stripping it of so many of its resources, and ensuring that it is in the situation in which it is now, because the gangs also, remember, were controlled often by the ruling set of people in Haiti. So, you know that history, and you can see where the source is, and now it has become such a huge problem. And the other thing is that, CARICOM, CARICOM leaders who agreed with the core group, right? I remember the core group was involved since 2004, right, in Haiti, right? That is when the peacekeepers, the international peacekeepers came in. And what did they bring? They brought cholera. Haiti never had cholera. One of them had cholera, and it spread to thousands of people in Haiti, many who died. And up to this day, there has been no compensation for that. You bring in a disease into a country where it never existed before. And therefore, cholera remains in Haiti now, brought in externally, and never any compensation. These were UN peacekeepers,
From
and
Bangladesh. From
yeah, the
Bangladesh.
person, but
It's
the
a particular
peacekeepers, right?
strain of cholera from Bangladesh.
That's right. And no compensation. And the word was that these are UN peacekeepers, and therefore the law prevents you from thinking. They were also responsible for a lot of sexual abuse. There were many Haitian women who had children. These children were never supported, never had any kind of support, etc. There was a lot of violence and so on. So the peacekeepers, it is something that did not work. I mean, and as I said, it brought a lot of negativity to Haiti. Maybe they did some good work, etc., etc. But
I'll have to wrap there,
oh,
Danuta.
sorry.
I don't have time. A big thanks having you as a guest. We'll definitely have you back. Good recommendation, Brother Akko. Quickly, a final thoughts, Brother Akko.
Well, let me say that the solidarity event in Haiti is next week, Saturday, March 29th at 6 p.m., 4 p.m. Belize and Central Standard Time. It's called it's in observance of International Day. Its title is In the Crucible, and it's 4 women from Haiti will be sharing their stories of struggles. So the moderator is Sister YaYa Marin Coleman. But my final thoughts on this is that we have to begin to understand the role of imperialism in the Caribbean and its role in Haiti. We are not discussing this. Danuta earlier alluded to colonialism is coming back, and YaYa never left, right? The fact that our capital cities are Georgetown, Port au Prince, Bridgetown, Kingston, Kingstown, it tells you that colonialism never left. And we have to understand what Kwame Nkrumah said. Neocolonialism is the last stage of imperialism, and we are in a neocolonial state. And to be hopeful, I would want to end by quoting Antonio Gramsci, the Italian Marxist philosopher, who he said that the old world is dying and the new one is struggling to be born. It is a time of monsters. And what we are seeing are monsters in various forms, political, economic monsters trying to devour the Caribbean. And we must understand that a new Caribbean is emerging, even sometimes as we are frustrated by the rate of its progress. But something is being born while something is dying. And we are going to see more and more of these monsters.
Brother Akko, again for your input guidance. This show on repeat at 5:30 Belize time here on XTV. You could listen to it at XTV Belize YouTube page, XTV Belize Facebook page. Our security guard today is Shane Flowers, and XTV is Alexei Belisle. And A Frisco in a radio. I hope it won't, not for sure, because I got fast, but I Frisco. Don't worry about not the one man army. With a lack of right now, we want to thank family members who support Brother Akko, who support Danuta. I say people that devote their life to struggle sometimes at grave consequence to their health, their well-being, their mental state. So now please take care of yourself. Give thanks to the communities we're caring of. We want to say thanks to XTV, Creme Radio, Amanda newspaper for the commitment, especially the people in the Caribbean. This is our space for them for telling stories. And we should be back here next Sunday. We should be back here next Sunday. Until then, only the people want to save the people.
Thank you very much.
Belize me come from the Belize City area. 110% Belize and proud of it. Don't tell me about maritime area. Long time ago agreement by the slave master. Talking about the head on the Belize and dollar because patriots.